as the dust settles on this series, one has to think, where does one locate this series? In all the euphoria, we have said that this was one of the greatest series ever, which it is. The ebbs and flows of the series, and Ben Stokes, for example, in that press conference said, this was one of the greatest series he's been part of. Mohammad Siraj said the same, that this is one of the greatest series he has been part of. So in our watching of cricket, now that this series about 3 days? Fourth, the series ended, today is the 8th. All of us have had time, 3 days to digest. We came back, our entire team came back to India yesterday. All of us have had time to soak it in, write about it, think about it, still go back and relive it in our own memories, the 57 minutes of manic madness at the Oval. So all of that taken together, where does one locate this series? How, in India's top 5 best series, and I'm not talking about wins, because this was not a win. I'm talking about the top 5 best series. Where does one actually locate this series? And I'm not going to, despite sort of knowing, reading, studying, writing about it, I'm not going back to 1971. Because the moment I go back to 1971, the current generation of cricket watchers find it difficult to associate with it. So I am keeping the West Indies 1971 and England 1971 aside. Because just to give you a story of the 1971 Oval, that 1971 Oval was as significant. First ever time at the Oval, Bhagwat Chandrasekhar, 6 for 38, Ajit Wadekar, Farooq Engineer, all of those people, Abid Ali. But I am not including that because it's more of the last 2 decades, 2.5, 3 decades that I'm trying to sort of, do this analysis. The one series that absolutely will come to mind is Australia 2001. Australia was coming to India. So that's number 5 for me. Number 5, I'm coming up the order. The one series, and I'll also tell you why it is at number 5. Because it's a 3-test series. When I then think of a 4 or a 5 test series, it will rank kind of higher in the pecking order. But the quality of cricket in this particular series was less to none. Unreal. Australia won the match at the Wankhede. 3.5 days, all of us remember. Tendulkar batting brilliantly, that 76. Michael Slater and Rahul Dravid in that tiff. They went head to head and argued, but Australia was just too good. 16 test wins on the trot. 2001, final frontier at that point in time for Steve Waugh. And each one of the Aussies were like, this is what it is. They have to beat India in India. And Steve Waugh had set it out. As that was his last kind of thing, that to win that final frontier. Thereafter, 3.5 days match finished, Harbhajan bowled well. Team comes to Kolkata, Saurav Ganguly, young captain, nobody gave a chance. Absolutely, if anyone comes and says no one gave India a chance. And that's the point here, that at the end of the second day, India was 128 for 8. Australia had scored 445. Steve Waugh getting 100. Australia 445, India 128 for 8. I remember walking out of the Eden Gardens and walking towards Dharamtala and literally sort of heartbroken, crestfallen, whatever you want to call it, much like 0 for 2 in Manchester, and saying this is done. Next morning, like we all are, emotional supporters and fans, we turned up. VVS Lakshman 59, India 171. All of a sudden, second innings, VVS Lakshman promoted up the order. And we see history. He gets 100, India 248 for 4. Thereafter, day 4, 335 runs added between Rahul Dravid and VVS Lakshman. Not a single wicket down. India goes on to script a miracle. Harbhajan Singh, again, unbelievable bowling. Both innings, goes on to beat Australia after following on and scoring mammoth number of runs in the second innings. Completely crazy scenes in Calcutta. 100,000 people watching that match at the Eden Gardens. Now the number of people that can watch are much less, around 70,000. The next match in Chennai, equally good. Each one of us remember Samir Dighe, those final runs, Harbhajan Singh, those final runs. Absolutely manic match. VVS Lakshman stunned when he was taken, that catch was taken. So that series, 2001 series, I will say will be number 5. India winning that series 2-1 against Australia, stopping that Australian juggernaut, 16 test matches on the trot. So that's something that will seriously be right up there. Okay, number four rather in that pecking order. I will say both the series, but I will say the 2018 series of Australia. The first time ever India goes on to win against Australia in Australia. Ravi Shastri very rightly equated it with the World Cup. When that resting Bumrah question came up, he said, how many times have we won a World Cup? Because Bumrah was being considered, the rest was being considered because the World Cup was coming up. And Ravi said, how many World Cups have we won? We have won quite a few, whether it is a T20 World Cup, whether it is a 50-over World Cup. How many times have we been able to beat Australia in Australia? Not once. Again, I had the fortune of covering that series. Unreal. And India would have won that Sydney Test match also. Had there been no rain, India would have won that Sydney Test match also. Boxing Day, Ravi Shastri making that enormous change and pushing Hanuma Vihari and Mayank Agarwal to open. All of us were kind of stunned that what is Ravi doing, but Hanuma Vihari blunted the new ball. Mayank Agarwal scoring a 50 on debut. Cheteshwar Pujara absolutely sensational right through that series. Jasprit Bumrah and that bowling attack, the Indian bowling attack stood up. Absolutely stood up. Australia, that was another series. Going to Australia, beating Australia, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli as captain, absolutely fantastic. I mean, Kohli got 100 and shaped it up. India won that Boxing Day Test match. Melbourne was tremendous. India could have won Sydney also. Had there not been much weather interruption. Again, having had the privilege of covering that tour, I remember Ravi Shastri talking about Kuldeep Yadav at the end of that, saying he could be India's foremost spinner. Something like that has not happened because of, again, batting and all of that stuff. But that was another series as part of folklore. Virat Kohli elevating himself to a very different league as captain. At the end of the match, Anushka Sharma, Virat Kohli, the entire Indian team, with their families, celebrating at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Fascinating memories. So that will be my number 4. Number 3, this might just be a little strange for people. This might just be because people will say, why are you including this particular series here? Now, I'm including this particular series because India has not won anything in South Africa. And this was our opportunity. This was our opportunity to do really well. It was again a 2-test series. India had a really good chance of winning that particular one. Rohit Sharma, skipper in South Africa, can he do that? Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the job in the first one. And that was a big blow for India. That was a real blow for India that, what happened? Because that was a chance in South Africa. Second test match in South Africa, India was brilliant. In that series, KL Rahul scoring that particular 100. Oh, what an incredible knock that was. And if you remember now, the way India batted, the way India bowled, India stayed in the fight, and the series ended 1-1 eventually. India managed to come back and equalize. Rohit Sharma, as skipper, acquitted himself really well in South Africa. So I'm keeping that you did not lose to South Africa. Sena country is really important. And South Africa, current World Test match champions, they have always been a very, very difficult barrier to cross. So 1-1 in that particular series in recent times, it is part of India's progress. It is part of India's progress in many ways. So that's why I'm keeping that series as in my recent series as the third one. 2-1. Now this is very difficult. I would say 2-1. You guys know by now which will be 2-1. I will say it's a joint winner. I cannot decide. I cannot decide between 2021 Australia. I cannot decide between 2025 England. Now, the only reason I will say 2025 England will be number 2, maybe by 9900, is because it's 2-2. But the positive ledger, this is a 5-test series. That wasn't. Australia, Gabba was a 4-test series. This is a 5-test series. So in many ways, as I said, it's joint winner. You might say Australia 99, England 100, or you might say England 100, England 99, Australia 100. But think about the context. Think about what really transpired. You were bowled out for 36 in Adelaide. And to come back from there, I mean, Josh Hazlewood hitting that line, every right-hander in that, and Ravi Shastri will keep telling you that Unfortunately, India did not have a left-hander to break the momentum. India did not have a left-hander to allow or to push Hazelwood off his tracks. And it was one of those days when every ball was nicked. You oftentimes, how many times, tell me, England has played and missed at the Oval? At least 100. In fact, we were continuously saying how lucky are they that against Mohammad Siraj 283 times has beat the bat in this England series. That one in Adelaide, every time Hazelwood pitched up, the ball would get a nick. So Australia 36 all out, India gone. To come back from there, I think Ajinkya Rahane's greatest test win, you have to say, as skipper, obviously, Ravindra Jadeja making a point, Rishabh Pant coming in, making that quick fire 29, Ravindra Jadeja that 50, Ajinkya Rahane that 100, and again, the story of Mohammad Siraj. Mohammad Siraj, father passed away, not coming back to India, COVID at the top of his bowling mark, he was crying, he said it was for his dad. Ravi Shastri told him that when he is at the top of his bowling mark, Ravi was sure that his father would be blessing him. Mohammad Siraj stood up, absolutely stood up, and that is where his story really started as one of India's absolute champions, and now obviously he has become the leader of the bowling pack. When it was 1-1, then comes Sydney. Who would have given India a chance on the last day? Ravichandran Ashwin could not even stand up. Hanuma Vihari with that muscle strain could not even stretch himself forward. Ravichandran Ashwin's wife and the housekeeping staff had to literally get him to wear his trousers. He was in agony, real agony, and he has said that to us multiple times in interviews. So Ravichandran Ashwin and Hanuma Vihari, much like the Manchester draw, India managed to pull off a heist in Manchester, and that was the great escape. This Sydney 2021 was also another great escape. Rohit Sharma, having served his COVID period, went and joined the team. And it was brilliant to see the effort by everybody. Ajinkya Rahane, once again, as captain, tremendous moment. Virat Kohli had come back to India. That was a heist that India pulled off. And India stayed alive. That's what set up the Gabba. Much like Manchester set up Oval, this one, Sydney, set up the Gabba. What more can you talk about the Gabba? Documentaries have been made, stories have been written, tales have been scripted. Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Siraj, Washington Sundar, each one of them. And Washington Sundar remains a commonality between the Gabba and the Oval. Mohammad Siraj stays a commonality between the Gabba and the Oval. You know that Tuta Gabba Ka Ghamand, Vivek Razdan, has been immortalized in Hindi commentary. It was one of those incredible wins. Rishabh Pant's innings on the last day. Think about it. Rishabh Pant, that series, was a champion, was an absolute champion. Shubman Gill was batting absolutely magically, not to ever forget Cheteshwar Pujara. How many times did he take body blows? We've documented all of this in Mission Domination. That was another tremendous win. As I said, I will rank between 2 and 1 as joint winners. So Gabba right up there. Rishabh Pant's contest against Nathan Lyon is part of lore. Just like here in England, the contest between Ben Stokes and some of the Indian batters, that's part of lore. Jofra Archer when he was bowling, that's part of lore. Rishabh Pant's contest against Nathan Lyon on a track which was turning square. Rishabh Pant deposits Nathan Lyon into the boundary over the ropes and big grounds in Australia. It was just unbelievable. So if Gabba, and we thought, we've seen the best of sport. We thought this cannot be matched. This is the greatest that you can possibly see of sport, 328 getting chased down on the final day. Fortress Brisbane, Fortress Gabba getting breached in Australia. And then comes this particular series. Imagine what has happened. I mean, now that you have time, pause for a second and think what has happened. India 359 for 3 in Leeds day 1. Who on earth would have imagined that? And thereafter, 430 for 3, Shubman Gill plays that shot to deep square and gets out, and all of a sudden collapse, 470 gone. England scores equal number of runs, just nothing separates the two sides. India sets it up, unfortunately not able to protect 370. England goes on to chase it down in a canter. Everybody says now it's 5-0. No one after Leeds gave India a chance. And once we knew that Jasprit Bumrah is not going to play in Edgbaston, more so, how can an unfancied bowling attack of a Siraj or an Akashdeep and Prasidh Krishna stopped these England batters. Who knew Akashdeep would his 10 wickets? That, the afternoon, late afternoon, after India had closed their innings, when those 3 wickets fell, Akashdeep on fire, and then that Mohammad Siraj spell, Joe Root, Ben Stokes, India from nowhere, Fortress Edgbaston was breached and the series was 1-1. And I absolutely can picture, we are leaving Birmingham, and all of a sudden the interest in the series had peaked. We at Rev Sports had put in a lot into this series, and all of a sudden we could sense that perhaps our decision stood vindicated. Lords, again so close. Both teams locked at 387 at the end of innings 1. Nothing to separate. Became a second inning shootout. England 190. I still think India should have won that game. Had Karun Nair stayed on a little bit more on the 4th afternoon, had Shubman Gill not gotten out, India would have closed that game. Jofra was brilliant. Getting Rishabh Pant, getting Washington Sundar, who has been a real thorn for England with the bat right through the series. Jofra was sensational. Eventually, all that fight of Ravindra Jadeja went to vain. And Mohammad Siraj, tremendous fight again, but that ball hitting the bat, copybook defense going on, rolling onto the stumps of Shoaib Bashir. That is a picture postcard moment that you would never want for Mohammad Siraj. Agony, pain, heartbreak. Fast forward to Manchester, it was tremendous. It was tremendous. Manchester, when that draw happened, 0-2, all of a sudden we had some belief that yes, India can. We had some belief that this series is still alive, that this series can go to the wire. Much like Sydney, Manchester had set up the oval. And Washington Sundar, Ravindra Jadeja, KL Rahul, who has been stellar right through this series, set it up quite beautifully, the oval. And then the magic 57 minutes at the oval. Who can ever forget those 57 minutes and what Mohammad Siraj achieved, what Prasidh Krishna helped him with? And those 57 minutes, when Siraj was being given the Man of the Match award, the entire team standing there and almost giving him a guard of honor. That's how manic it was. Each one of us found voice. Gargi was polishing off Tim Wigmore's lunch. He had gotten cherries for lunch. She finished that off. Trisha was telling Sunandan Lele, a very senior journalist, that Sunandan sir, you are not supposed to go to the washroom. Shormishta was telling me, you cannot predict. Every time you are predicting, things might go wrong. You don't predict. Sahil Malhotra from Times of India was told, you cannot go to the washroom at all. Nobody moved. People were binge eating, people were shouting. Rohan comes and tells me that Washington Sundar cameo was because Prasidh Krishna was at the other end and his name is Krishna. He had the Sudarshan Chakra. He was the one maneuvering Washington Sundar. People had gone mad. People had gone absolutely mad at the Oval. And like I said, after the Oval, all of a sudden, entire India had smiles on their faces, and Mohammad Siraj summed it up. The man of the moment in that press conference, when I asked him about Harry Brooks' catch, I asked him about Lords, and he said, "Mere saath hi kyun hota hai?" And then goes on to add that perhaps Upar wala ne mere liye kuch acha hi likha hoga. That's what it is. So that's my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You might disagree with us. Let us know, because these kind of things really helps engagement, debate, gives us so much more to talk about and celebrate the romance of sport. Thank you very much for watching us. Thank you for your support. Do subscribe to the platform and ring the notification bell, and many more such shows to continue. We will join you live once again.